Ethan Ward had always been drawn to quiet places. While most photographers chased city lights or dramatic storms, he preferred long silent stretches of sky and land, where nothing moved except the wind. That was why he had come to the high mesas of Arizona in early summer. The desert spread out before him like a giant painting, wide, calm, and ancient. He hoped to capture photos of rare desert plants in bloom, but as the days passed, he found himself appreciating something even more unusual: the peaceful rhythm of the land. Ethan camped near a boundary marked with signs that explained the land ahead belonged to an Apache community. He respected the space and stayed outside the border. But the natural beauty surrounding the area was so rich that he often walked close to it to get better light for his photos. Every morning he set out before the sun fully rose, carrying his camera, water, and a notebook for sketches. One morning, just after sunrise, he followed a narrow trail along the canyon. The air smelled like warm stone and juniper. He paused to take a picture of a hawk circling above him. When he lowered the camera, he heard something unusual, a distant thundering sound, like hooves striking the ground. He turned his head in the direction of the noise. A young woman on horseback was riding along the ridge above him. Her long dark hair streamed behind her like a ribbon. She handled the horse with confidence, but something was off. Ethan squinted and noticed the horse's movements growing uneven, almost shaky. The animal wasn't slowing down. It seemed frightened by something. Ethan watched as the horse suddenly jerked sideways. The young woman tried to calm it, gently pulling the reins, but the horse tossed its head and bolted toward the canyon edge. His heart tightened. The slope ahead was steep, and one wrong step could send the horse sliding. He didn't think. He just moved. Ethan dropped his backpack and ran up the hillside, his boots hitting loose stones. The horse reared slightly, and the young woman lost her balance, slipping sideways, her foot coming free from the stirrup. The horse's sudden turn brought her close to the drop. She slid off its back completely, landing on the ground just feet from the steep edge. Ethan reached her at the same moment she tried to push herself away from the slope. She winced in pain and clutched her shoulder. Dust rose around them. The frightened horse ran off safely in another direction, but she was too close to the canyon edge to stand up easily. "Are you all right?" Ethan asked, breathing hard. She nodded, though she looked pale. "I think my shoulder. Something is wrong. Don't move too fast," he said gently. He helped her lean away from the drop and supported her until she could sit safely on flat ground. For a moment they sat silently, catching their breath. She looked young, maybe in her early 20s, with calm eyes that were now clouded with discomfort. Her clothes were simple but well made, and she carried herself with a quiet strength even while in pain. "Thank you," she finally said, holding her shoulder carefully. "That could have gone very badly." "I'm glad I was close enough to help," Ethan replied. "We should get you checked. Is there someone nearby who can help?" Before she could answer, two men on horses appeared along the ridge. They rode quickly toward them, dismounted, and rushed over with concern. They spoke softly to her in their language before turning to Ethan. "You helped her?" one of the men asked. "Yes," Ethan said. "She fell when her horse was startled." The men exchanged looks, then helped her stand gently. "You should come with us. The chief will want to know what happened." Ethan hesitated. He didn't want to intrude or offend anyone. But the young woman nodded and said, "It's all right. Please come." They guided her back along a safe path toward their village, which rested in a valley filled with adobe-style homes and tall cottonwood trees. The sound of running water from a nearby creek added to the peaceful feel of the place. Ethan walked beside them, unsure of what to expect, but also hopeful that she would receive proper care. As they entered the village, people turned to look, concerned about the young woman. A tall, steady man approached immediately. His hair was marked with gray at the temples, and he carried himself with quiet authority. His warm, thoughtful eyes rested first on his daughter, then on Ethan. This was Chief Dahoma. "What happened?" the chief asked calmly. The young woman answered before anyone else could. "My horse was startled. I lost balance near the canyon. But she pointed to Ethan, helped me before I slipped further." Chief Dahoma studied Ethan, not with suspicion, but with deep seriousness. He placed a gentle hand on his daughter's uninjured shoulder. "I'm grateful you were there." Ethan bowed his head slightly. "I'm glad she's safe." The chief's expression softened. "You have done more than you realize." Nellie, the young woman, was escorted to a healer's house, but Ethan was asked to stay for a moment with the chief. They walked to a shaded area near the creek, where elders slowly gathered around. Their faces were calm, kind, but focused. One of the elders spoke first. "There is a tradition among our people, very old, rarely spoken of now. It says that when someone saves the life of the chief's direct descendant, the two become spiritually connected. It is meant to honor the life saved and the life of the one who acted with courage." Ethan blinked. Surprised, "I didn't expect anything. I just did what anyone would do." The chief nodded. "Your intention is clear, but our traditions were made long before modern times, and they carry great meaning. We do not use them lightly." Another elder added, "This bond is not ownership or force. It is a lasting tie joining of paths. Refusing it can bring disharmony, unless handled with care." Ethan felt a sudden pressure in his chest, not fear, but confusion. "So what happens now?" "You are given 3 days," Chief Dahoma said. 3 days to understand and decide. You may choose to accept the bond and become part of our community in a way that honors the old law, or you may ask for a ceremonial release from the tradition. But understand, asking for release is not wrong. It must simply be done with respect. Ethan nodded slowly. "I want to do the right thing. I just need to understand more." "We will help you," the chief said. "My daughter will help too. She is strong, wise, and understands our customs well." Ethan felt a strange mix of worry and curiosity. He had come to the desert for quiet photographs, not for ancient traditions or life-changing decisions. Yet something in the chief's voice, in the elders' patient faces, made him want to approach the situation with humility. He was shown a small guest house to rest in. As he walked through the village, people looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and respect, though he felt he had only done what any human would do. Later that evening, as the sky turned soft pink and orange, Nellie visited him. Her shoulder was wrapped, but she walked steadily. "Thank you again," she said softly. "My father told me about the old law. I wanted to say, please do not feel pressured or afraid. We do not wish to trap you." "I appreciate that," Ethan said. "I just want to understand everything before I decide." She gave a gentle smile. "Then over these 3 days, I will tell you the history. You can ask any questions you wish. No matter what choice you make, I will respect it." There was something calm and reassuring in her presence. Ethan felt some of his worry fade. He watched her walk back toward the village lights, her silhouette warm against the falling night. He didn't know what the next 3 days would bring. But one thing was certain. His life had taken a turn he never expected when he stepped onto the trail that morning, one that would test his courage, his understanding, and his heart in ways he could not yet imagine. The next morning, Ethan woke up to the calm sound of the desert wind passing through cottonwood leaves. For a moment, he forgot where he was, until he stepped outside and saw the familiar adobe homes and the soft smoke rising from cooking fires. He remembered the words of Chief Dahoma, the ancient law, and the 3 days given to him. A strange mixture of curiosity and responsibility filled his chest. When he stepped out into the open, he saw Nellie waiting near a shaded bench by the creek. She smiled gently as he approached. Her arm was still healing, but she seemed stronger than yesterday. "Good morning," she greeted. "Good morning," Ethan replied. "How are you feeling?" "Much better," she answered. "My shoulder is healing well. Thank you again. And today, if you are ready, I would like to tell you about the tradition." He nodded, curious and willing to learn. They walked toward the creek where the water flowed over smooth stones. Children played in the distance, and elders sat together weaving baskets or talking quietly. The village felt warm and peaceful, like a place where everyone knew one another. Nellie began speaking softly. "Long ago, our people lived in constant movement across the land. When someone saved the life of another, it was considered a gift beyond value. So a tradition formed, one that honored such bravery. If someone saved the life of the chief's descendant, the tribe believed their pops were meant to stay connected, not to take anything away from them, but to show deep thankfulness. Ethan listened carefully. So it was never meant as a burden, never, she said. It was meant as a promise of lasting respect. The bond symbolized to families becoming connected. Over time, as our ways changed, the tradition became a quiet one. It is rarely used now. Many people in the tribe feel it belongs to the past, but some believe it still carries meaning. Ethan thought about the elders' serious expressions yesterday. And if someone asks for a release, you will not be rejected or disliked, Nellie reassured him. The ceremony is peaceful, but some older members believe that refusing the bond may weaken something sacred. It is not anger, it is simply fear of losing an old value. Ethan appreciated her honesty. And you? How do you feel about all this? Nellie took a slow breath. I feel that traditions are important. They remind us of where we come from. But I also believe true connection must be chosen freely. I would never want anyone to accept the bond because they felt forced or worried. I want peace for my people, but also fairness for whoever stands before us. Her words were steady, thoughtful, and kind. Ethan felt a quiet respect grow in him. She continued showing him around the village, introducing him to people with warm smiles. They showed him how they painted pottery, how they dried fruit under the sun, how they shared meals as a community. Everywhere he went, someone would thank him for helping Nellie. Their gratitude was gentle and sincere. Over the next 2 days, Ethan spent time learning more about their way of life. He visited the small museum where tribal history was carefully kept. He listened to stories told by elders about the land, about the stars, about courage and unity. Every story felt like a thread connecting the present to centuries of wisdom. And through all of it, Nellie stayed by his side explaining, answering questions, laughing softly at his attempts to learn Apache words. The more time he spent with her, the more he admired her calm strength, her wisdom, and her kindness. She spoke with a quiet confidence that reminded him of the desert itself, peaceful, but full of life. One evening, as they watched the sunset paint the sky in gold and rose colors, Ethan finally asked her something he had been thinking about. Do you want this bond? He asked carefully. Nellie looked at the horizon for a long moment before answering. I want what is true. I want my life to be guided by honesty, not by fear of breaking an old rule. If the bond is meant to happen, it should happen with understanding and respect. If not, then I believe we can still honor the moment of courage without being tied to something that does not feel chosen. Her honesty touched him more than he expected. It made everything clearer in his mind. That night, Ethan lay awake thinking about his time in the village. The way people treated each other kindly, the way traditions were held close to the heart, and the way Nellie carried both modern thought and ancient respect with ease. It all made him realize something important. He didn't feel like a stranger here anymore. He felt welcome, valued, understood. The village had changed him in quiet ways he hadn't noticed until now. On the third morning, the day he had to decide, the village gathered near an open circle surrounded by wooden poles, decorated with colorful ribbons. The air felt thick with anticipation. Elders stood together on one side, and the rest of the villagers gathered in respectful silence. Chief Tahoma stood calmly in the center, waiting for Ethan. Nellie walked beside Ethan as they entered the circle. She didn't say anything, but her presence gave him courage. Chief Tahoma spoke first. Ethan Ward, today, you choose the path that will honor the moment you saved my daughter's life. You may accept the bond, or you may request release. Either choice will be respected. All eyes turned to Ethan. He took a slow breath, feeling the weight of the moment, but also the calmness of his heart. I have learned so much in these 3 days, he began. I have seen the goodness of your people, the strength of your traditions, and the deep respect that guides your way of life. I am grateful for everything I have been taught, but I also believe something important. A bond meant to honor courage should be built on free will, not on an old rule. The elders watched him intently. I cannot accept the bond as it is written in the ancient law, Ethan said. But I do not want release, either not in the way it is traditionally done. I want something else. something that honors your tradition and respects our present time. Chief Tahoma nodded slowly. Inviting him to continue, I ask that the bond only be formed if Nayli chooses it too, Ethan said. Not because a rule demands it, but because it is her free decision. And I want the choice to be mutual, to people walking the same path because they both want to. A soft murmur ran through the crowd. Some elders looked surprised. Others looked thoughtful. Then Chief Tahoma turned to his daughter. Nayli, what is your heart's choice? Nayli stepped forward. Her voice was steady and clear. I choose freely, she said. Not because of the old law, not because of pressure, but because I have come to respect Ethan's heart, his kindness, and the way he listens with honesty. I choose this bond, my choice, not the laws. The murmurs changed into surprised approval. Some elders nodded. Younger members of the tribe smiled, clearly moved by this new interpretation of the tradition. Chief Tahoma raised his hands. Then today, our tradition grows. The bond shall be honored only when chosen freely, with open hearts. The crowd gently broke into warm applause, not loud, but full of emotion. Ethan felt his chest light with relief and gratitude. He looked at Nayli, and she smiled softly back. The ceremony ended with blessings and warm words. As the sun began to lower, children brought out colorful ribbons, tying them around the wooden poles to celebrate this new moment in their history. In the days that followed, Ethan decided to stay longer in the region. He continued his photography, capturing not only the desert plants he had originally come for, but also the life and joy of the community. He spent afternoons with Nayli, learning more about the traditions, the stories, and the quiet beauty of her people. Over time, Ethan found himself woven slowly but meaningfully into the rhythm of the village, not because ancient law demanded it, but because he felt at home there truly and freely. And as the seasons changed, so did his connection with Nayli. What began as an act of rescue had grown into a bond built on respect, choice, and gentle understanding, a bond that felt strong not because it was written in tradition, but because it was written in both their hearts.